Hello again, curious family members. It's your old Uncle Jeff again, doing the next vlog on July 11th, 2021. I hope you're all having a great day. Are you? I am. Glad to hear it. Hope you said that. This vlog has the title of The Odd Couple of Years, 55 to 56, because for me, it was very odd. I don't think most 4 and 5-year-olds go through this kind of change. We'll go back to March when I started kindergarten. I don't remember much of this, however, it's been documented so I can put it together. They split our classes up into 3 groups of about 18 to 20 kids, and we went for 3 months each, full day. So March, April, May was my time to go, just a month after Lloyd left. Mom didn't even have a camera to take a picture of me on my first day of school. I was all dressed up in a little suit with suspenders. But Gwen Pushing came over and took a picture, so I have a memory of this. Mom took me to kindergarten with my lunch pail, tried to leave, but I guess I lost it and started crying because admittedly I had some abandonment issues by then. So she stayed through lunch. And then I guess I acclimated myself with the other kids and I was okay. She got to go to the store and work, and then she was home to greet me when I got back. The school was right across from our house, but the front door to the school was 2 blocks away, and I just walked home. By that time, Brent and I had little starter bikes with trainer wheels, and we'd ridden all over that part of town, so it was familiar to me. The next incident happened at the end of April. And I can truly say this is the first psychic experience I had in my life. I had five other significant psychic experiences in my life, which I will probably outline in some future vlog. But this one involved Uncle Peter coming up for his first dinner with us. It was 3 months after Florence died, and in a small town, if you waited 3 months, then that was okay to go see a single woman, and the people wouldn't flap their jaws over it. So I'd been thinking, well, Aunt Florence is gone and my dad is gone. The logical thing to me was Uncle Peter was going to become my father. And I already knew how to read and write some basic things, and I'd already learned how to tell time when I was 3.5. I was wearing a watch by then even. So I went to the Olivia phone book and I looked up how to spell Vadheim, and I went out on the front step, which was made out of bricks. And on each individual brick on the front stoop, I wrote Jeffy Vadheim. And I was sitting there waiting for him to arrive. And he walked up with a box of chocolates from the drugstore and saw my name written there. And I'm not sure how he reacted, but I looked him directly into his eyes and I said, "When are you going to become my daddy?" And I don't remember the reaction or if they even discussed what I said, but for many years they loved to tell that story over and over, how I predicted their marriage on the very first time he came up to the house. Then the next part of my life involved a series of babysitters. Obviously, Mom had to go to the store every day, and she had to farm me out to somebody. And I remember almost all of these babysitters and at least one significant incident from each one. Carol Pushing, Brent's older sister who lived next door, frequently babysat me because she was in high school then. And I remember her giving me baths and taking care of me. Then there was Mrs. Juleson, who was the neighborhood cleaning lady who just lived a block away, and she cleaned houses for the Pushings and I suppose ours and the Kazrowskis and other people in the neighborhood. And she kind of reminded me of a grandmother. I knew I couldn't call her Nani because that was a name for our grandmother, but Judy had a friend in college whose mother was named Noni Davis in Wilmer, lawyer's wife. So I named Mrs. Juleson Noni. And Mrs. Pushing and Mrs. Kazrowski told their kids, now you can't call Mrs. Juleson Noni because that's not her real name. And so apparently that was my made-up name, and she was referred to as Noni Juleson for the rest of her life by us. Then there was Mrs. Brown. She had some older boys who terrorized me when I was over at their house. And, they just had to be a few years older to be able to do that. And I remember one day they tried to flush a whole orange down the toilet, plugged it up, flooded the bathroom, and came out in the living room where I was sitting on the couch. Mrs. Brown was visibly upset, and of course they're pointing fingers at me, trying to say that I put the orange down there, and of course I'm begging innocence, and Mrs. Brown believed me because she knew what her boys were up to. I remember the plumber coming and taking the toilet apart, and this was all very interesting to me because I never understood really how plumbing worked. Mrs. Brown also cleaned the jail, so often she would take me along over to the jail, and I would take my naps in a jail cell, which I don't remember, but Mom used to tell me that she didn't like that Mrs. Dillon did that. Mrs. Brown did that. The next one was Mrs. Dillon. She only babysat me for a short time, I think, either at her house or she came to my house. One time she had to take me to Dr. Cosgrove's office for an appointment to have a plantar wart frozen off my foot. And he froze it off with the carbon dioxide cylinder and then gave me the little cylinder to take home as a souvenir. I did fine with it, but Mrs. Dillon was of the opinion that anytime you went to the doctor's office, you certainly picked up every germ in the world, and you had to come home and instantly take a bath. So here it was a hot summer day in the afternoon. She threw me in the bathtub full of hot water, which of course caused my frozen wart to swell, and it felt like my foot was going to come off, and I'm screaming and not knowing what to do, and I just, I couldn't walk on it, and of course I told Mom about the incident when she came home, and I think that was the last time Mrs. Dillon was my babysitter. Then there was Mrs. Harrison, who was a very kind elderly lady, lived around the corner across from the florist shop run by Mr. Kortzmeyer, who was originally from Germany. She taught me things and I think read to me, and I remember thinking of her sort of like a school teacher. I had a white teddy bear named Whitey, and Whitey had two black threads down that outlined his muzzle, and one of them wore out and came loose, and I was so upset because he'd lost a significant part of his face. And I remember Mrs. Harrison got a needle out and she put his muzzle back together, but she got the one side a little longer than the other side, so I always thought of her every time when I looked at that. I still had that little teddy bear in 2018 when I sold out my final household in Phoenix, and a lady who collected children's toys bought it from me, and so I told her the story of Mrs. Harrison and the irregular muzzle thread, so she had something to remember it by. In the fall of 1955, Mom hired Beatrice Fosek, who was a local farm girl who could come and live with us, do the cooking, cleaning, run the household, be my other mother when I came home, and this took a lot of stress off her from having a series of different women take care of me. Bea had to help the family with the harvest, so she came to our house right after Halloween and then stayed through spring until I was out of school. And she stayed with us for the full 12 years of my grade school and high school education, and we really clicked. We were like soulmates, and there'll be more stories about her later on. Then in the summers between first, second, and third grade, she once again hired high school girls to come and take care of me, and some of them actually lived in Judy's bedroom and stayed with us. The first ones I remember were Bev and her sister Karen Fisher. Bev was dating Jim Wagamaker, the son of one of the lawyers. He was a good-looking, tall, long-legged guy, and he would come over and sit on the little ice cream table that my mom had out front on our portico, because of course you wouldn't go inside the Vadheim's house just to see Karen. And Brent and I would go in the living room. We had floor-to-ceiling windows, and we'd part the curtains and peek at them and watch them spooning out on the portico, and we called him Daddy Longlegs because of his height. Then her younger sister Karen took over and took care of me, and she had an old farm truck like Lloyd's and used to drive me around town, and I enjoyed that. And years later, when I was a medical student doing a family practice rotation in St. Anthony Park, the suburb of St. Paul where the Twin Cities first was established, the doctor's office was in a pharmacy building, and there was a door between the pharmacy and the back hall. so you could go right over there. So I wandered over there during a break, and I noticed the young pharmacist's name tag said Karen Fisher, and I looked at her and I thought, that's my babysitter. And I sort of knew Karen had gone to pharmacy school, so I walked up and I said, hi Karen, you remember me? And of course she had to look at my name tag, and we just had the best time laughing over old times, running into each other now some 15 years later. The last babysitter was Harriet Schimmelpfennig, a complicated German word. She came from Bird Island, the town next to Olivia, and I was fascinated by the name. She said, oh, it means shiny penny, and which I accepted. And then years later, when I took German, I found out that the word Schimmel actually means mold, and so her name was Moldy Penny, and that shiny was Schimmern, like shimmer in English. And so I guess if your name is Moldy Penny, you quickly changed the translation to Shiny Penny. Uncle Pete came up for Christmas. I remember he came up early so he could watch me open my stocking from Santa Claus early in the morning, and he gave us our first TV, a black and white Motorola 15-inch TV on a little rolling stand, and that was my first introduction to what was in the outside world outside of Olivia. Our reception was poor, it was fuzzy, and we had to have a huge antenna on our roof just to get the most rudimentary of programs in, but that opened my eyes to what was out there. The next vlog will be about my good friend Brent from next door, my surrogate brother.